everyone. I'm Kimberly Knight, and I had a few reflections during this time that we are sequestered, for lack of a better word, with the coronavirus pandemic that's going on. So I just wanted to kind of get on here and share some of the things that I feel were shared with me, and just looking forward to seeing what unfolds. So I have a list of things that I'm going to talk to you about, and then we'll talk about what's next. Okay. First, nothing is going to go back to the way it was. There is a new normal upon us, and just getting into this new normal, looking at it in a different way is going to be very, very powerful. So even when things subside as far as the disease goes, nothing is going to be the same. Before you panic, though, or before that concerns you, all of this is good news, by the way. All of the points that I'm going to share with you are good news. So before you panic, that said, that's not necessarily a bad thing, and we're going to take a look at that, right? So the second point is you've got to make a mind shift. It's a paradigm shift. And stop looking, good morning, stop looking at what you're losing and start looking at the possibilities and opportunities. Inside of every crisis is that seed of opportunity. And those who hop on that seed of opportunity early are the ones who are going to benefit from it. And some of this stuff is I'm going to read directly from my notes because it is so powerful. I've had a lot of quiet time, so I want to make sure I get everything in. It says, grieve your loss and move on to what is next. For every loss, make sure you claim an opportunity. So if you spot a loss, don't stay there and get depressed and despondent and focus on what you lost. Focus on looking for the new opportunity that is gained, because that has ended, but space has been made for something new. So be sure to claim your opportunity. Number 3, think about what you can do in the meantime. You have to make good use of this time. I'm not talking about overeating and binge watching TV, right? There has to be more to life. You have time now that you would not have had otherwise. So you've got to make really good use of the time. So these are things like things you've procrastinated or put off. Now, I'll be honest, my closet was a hot mess. So I cleaned my closet. But what did that do for me? It gave me the opportunity now to organize my curriculum and look at what's new and what's next, what I no longer needed and could share with someone else. I found things that I was looking for a year ago, I just located last week. There's other things I put off, like making phone calls, reaching out to certain people. Oh, you think about so-and-so, but you haven't reached out to them because you didn't have time. Well, you have time now. So utilize your time wisely. Number 4, this was really good and interesting. New industries will emerge and be birthed that we have never seen or thought of before. Brand new industries, brand new things are going to be birthed that were never thought of or created before. So this is your opportunity to get in early and create an industry or create an angle to an existing industry that did not exist before. Now, the interesting thing about that is this. And this brings me to point number 5, so I'll just kind of lump them together. Point number 5 is old industries will be done new ways. So now let's just take a look at some of the things that are going on. Bars are closed because you cannot congregate together right now. So some municipalities are allowing alcohol delivery. Now, those who know me know I'm a teetotaler, right? I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of those things. However, they're allowing bars to now deliver, which was against the law a week ago. So that also brings me to another point, which I hadn't jotted down, but is very important. Pay attention to the changes in the laws, the rules, and regulations. Some of them are not going to revert. Some of them are going to revert, and some are going to be different, but with a twist. So you've got to pay attention, because in every change, there's a seed of opportunity that you need to hop on early and take advantage of. Some of you are going to birth real, huge pockets of wealth out of this crisis. So stay tuned to that. Number 6, greed and industries that promote greed and status are going to take a hit because people are going to realize just how little they need to be content. So there's going to be a lot of people who now their paradigm is like, I really didn't need what I thought I needed to be happy and to be content. And so there's a lot of you who certain things are going to no longer satisfy you the way they did. And don't be afraid to let that go and embrace the new so that you can move on to things that really do speak to you now. There is a judgment on greed, right? We're looking now at how do we begin to share with our neighbors? How do we begin to give? How are we generous towards other people in our thoughts, our actions, and our deeds, right? So we're in that season now where greed is going to be judged. Number 7. Oh, and this is really powerful. Think income and not salary. Think income and not salary. You need income and resources. You don't need a job and salary. Oh, okay. I'm gonna give you a minute to sit on that one because I know that was a lot. That was heavy, right? So think income, not salary. So going back to some of my earlier points about how new industries were going to be birthed, how new things were going to come out, how old industries were going to morph and be have different angles. You've got to begin to look at, now, how can I jump in early, right? That's what I said. And how can I get the benefit of that? But also thinking not just, oh, let me get on and look for a new job, but let me now look at, how can I make income? How can I earn income? How can I get the resources I need without a strict 9 to 5? So for some of you, it's going to be a very interesting time and season. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Now, number 8. On the surface, number 8 is going to sound a little scary, a little worrisome, but don't get worried. Some facilities, churches, jobs, businesses, and offices will not reopen. So not everything that closed temporarily was temporary, unfortunately. Some things are not going to reopen. And on the surface, that's bad news. On the other hand, though, there are going to be some things that do open and that you have to look at creating. So those closures are going to make room for other things. And some of the people who were part of these other businesses, jobs, and entities are going to take off those golden handcuffs and now embrace something new. Okay, number 9. Some of you will be able to make purchases and take vacations you weren't able to afford before. So, the travel industry took a huge hit. There's no business travel. There's no pleasure travel for the most part. I mean, they are really starting to suffer. So when we do get back to life, I can't say life as we know it or life as normal because it is going to be a new normal. There are going to be some vacations and vacation packages. Already we see that airline flights are dirt cheap. There were some things that I wanted to do and experience with my husband. I was like, oh, I'll wait till it comes on sale. Well, guess what? They are dirt cheap right now. There were tickets that we wanted that were like $500 or $600, and I saw it yesterday for $81 round trip. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the time for us to book, right? So some of you are going to be able to make purchases and take vacations for pennies on the dollar, pennies on the dollar. So be alert to those things, look at those things and plan. And here's another one that I don't have on my list, but I'm going to add it in. This is a time to dream and to dream big. This is not the time to shrink back, right? Because I think that sometimes when we think about times like this or in seasons like this, what we want to do is we're already hibernating for the most part, but now we want to draw in close and panic and get graspy, and this is not the time. You have the time mentally and physically, if you allow it, to now dream and to dream big. So take advantage of that. Take advantage of, where do you really want to go? Like, I have a list. Like, people who know me know that I have a 10-year plan I'm looking at. I have maybe I'll do a video on planning and things like that too. But I have an experience list, things I want to experience, things I want to do, things I want to do with places I want to travel, things I want to see, things I want to know about, things I want to learn, right? This is your opportunity. You have time. I don't want to watch any more Netflix. I got to tell you, I am tired of television. I love being able to have a moment because I'm not really a TV person. It's like, okay, I can get into some of the things that people watching. First of all, some of that stuff y'all watching, that stuff is trash. Ooh, stop. Some of y'all just, some of the programs that were recommended to me, y'all know who you are. But this is the time for you to learn. There were some educational programs that I had purchased that I had not completed, so I'm completing those now. There were some ministry things I wanted to get in place. I'm completing those now. There were some personal healing areas that I needed to complete that I said I didn't have time for. And I got to tell you, that's a trick too, because guess what? I'm completing them now so that when I come out of this, I will be better than when I went in. But you've got to be deliberate. That's the trick. Here's the other thing too. I want to make sure that the children are home, right? And this is not in my notes. I still have some more to go, by the way. The children are home and we're focused on their education, and we should be, because it is our responsibility as parents to raise our children in the nurture, fear, and admonition of the Lord, and to educate them to be responsible citizens of the world and to understand the things they need to understand. That is our responsibility as parents. Now, it is also our responsibility as adults. It is also our responsibility as kingdom citizens, right? So we want to make sure that our children are not only getting educated, but that we're also setting the good example by educating ourselves. We have a whole plethora of opportunities educationally open to us as adults that we need to be taking advantage of too. This is not the time to couch potato. This is a time where a lot of us, if we take this opportunity for what it is and have that and educate ourselves and grow and learn, we're going to have the opportunity to come out of this and come into brand new things and opportunities we would not have had the ability to do before, but we've got to be purposeful about it. So I'm going to encourage you in that. So that may throw my numbers off some, but stay with me. Okay. So I talked about some businesses, industries, churches, ministries, jobs. Corporations, we're not going to reopen. But on the flip side of that, everyone in every industry is not going to suffer. Some will actually thrive during this time. Hold on, I got to get a drink of water. Hold on. Okay, some will actually thrive during this time. Think about, and this is hysterical to me, the toilet paper industry. They are having a boom. Hand sanitizer has just become your new best friend, right? It's the new roses. Don't bring me roses, bring me toilet paper and hand sanitizer. A month ago, you would have really yelled at your husband if he brought that home, right? My hubby brought home some items for us, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, toilet paper and hand sanitizer. Oh honey, you're so thoughtful. I love you so much. It was better than a dozen roses. So necessity is the mother of invention, but there are some that are actually thriving. Cleaning companies, right? Cleaning companies are thriving right now. Those who know how to clean and sanitize, let me tell you, there's a business idea for you, because we've looked at cleanliness and sanitizing at a whole new level. And that's something you can open and run with a very low overhead. For those of you who know me know that I have a master's degree in organizational leadership and strategic planning. And one of my areas of expertise is helping to start small businesses. And I think I may come back and do some around that. And I have a book about that and everything. So, I'll put that up later. But I know that one of the girls I mentored is here, Florence. If you could go on and get the link from Amazon for the book, Get Paid, 10 Secrets to Building a Profitable Business. If you could put that in the comments, I would really appreciate that. And hi, baby. Okay, so getting back to some of the other things that I think are going to thrive. Oh, daycares for first responders. Listen, you know that those in the medical field and other industries are going to be on the front line, and industries that normally wouldn't be there. So we need to respond. Now, here is a place where you can open up, right? So you can have daycare because people still have to take care of their own children. Now, there are many people who have retired or who had gone away from the medical profession, but they're calling them back into service and even changing the rules about how you can work across states with your license so that you can work closer to home during this time of crisis. So these people are going to need childcare. Now you have to remember, see, this is what I'm talking about. There is opportunity if you know how to get it. You got to get on it though, right? You've got to be creative and you've got to move, and you got to move now. So these people are going to need daycare that they can trust so that their minds can be clear to serve where they're needed. So if you created daycare, and this one I have said for years, and I know some of you, I see some of you on here from some of my business classes, and I have said this one for years. If you have a daycare that is open overnight for those who work the night shift or who will take children on the 12-hour shift, because a lot of nurses and medical professionals work 12-hour shifts 3 days a week. So if you're willing to do that, you're going to be able to set your price, and you will never want to fill your daycare center. I am telling you, it is a moneymaker for sure, especially if you also say that you are taking very seriously how you keep your center sanitized and all of those things. So be right on top of that. Also, there's some other things that I talk about business-wise in my book. I see that it was just posted. The link to that was just posted. So thank you very much for that. Be sure to check that out. Speaking of first responders, this was number 11, and I told you that the numbering would be off because there were some things that came up during our conversation that I hadn't necessarily included in my notes. So humor me. Number 11 is, have you heard the scripture where it says, the last shall be first? Well, we have redefined the least of these as the most essential personnel. Check this out. Grocery clerks. All of a sudden, the maintenance department, gas station attendants, the school lunch programs. I know here in the Northeast, school lunch programs actually have opened up in some of the public schools, and they have grab and go meals for the children who would otherwise go hungry. There are a lot of children in this country who the only meals they get are in school. So some of the school districts have kept their lunch staff and their service staff in the school so that they could create grab and go meals for children. So all of a sudden, they've become part of the first responder team. The last shall be first. We're looking at things like respiratory therapists. Thank you. When you talk about someone using a ventilator, that is the job of the respiratory therapist. A lot of us have heard that word, and we've never heard that before. You need to look into that. Lab techs. Things like that, things we and businesses and service providers that we normally wouldn't think of as first responders are now first responders, right? So, when you go and that clerk is still in that supermarket and they're checking out your groceries, how many of you have ever said thank you? Because they're making a sacrifice. They are making a sacrifice. They're away from their homes. They are serving you, and they are helping you to get the things you need to stock up. So we want to be sure that we honor our first responders. That said, here's another opportunity. There are some grocery stores and essential services that are hiring part-time and temporary on the spot. So if you are struggling right now and you need money right now, I know there are supermarket chains that are hiring people on the spot just for stocking. They are literally having to close stores early because they don't have enough staff to stock. So that's another money-making opportunity for you. You can get in there and at least get a flash of cash so that you're able to take care of your family. All right. Let's see. Number 12. This could be a video all by itself. Number 12. Wisdom and faith are not mutually exclusive. So I'm hearing a lot of back and forth banter, and some of it is very disheartening for me. There were churches who before now decided to close and go virtual for now. In order to respect social distancing and helping to slow down the spread of the virus. And there was a lot of backlash that that's not faith. Now listen, faith and wisdom can work together. They are not exclusive of each other. Also, we have to take in the whole counsel, and the whole counsel is this. There is scripture that actually tells us you have to obey the laws of the land. And when leaders say, we're trying to slow this down, so we're going to ask that you don't congregate en masse. Respect the process. And this is what I was talking about the paradigm shifts and the shifts. Here's the thing. Just because we're not assembling in a building doesn't mean we're not assembling. And we have to look at what our paradigm is and make sure that we're being mindful that faith does not operate without wisdom as well. And that's a whole other video. I'll get into that at another time. But I really think I'm going to do a video on that, because that just really, there were a few things that kind of, I don't know what a craw is, but it got stuck in my craw. My mother used to use that. Oh my gosh, I opened my mouth and my mama came out. Ooh, child. This is what happens in crisis. All right, here's the next one. And I'm going to read it like I received it. And this goes also back to that spirit of greed that was being judged right now. And so it says the false security of privilege and selfishness is being exposed, right? I saw there was a young man that was interviewed on spring break, because we are literally in the season of spring break. And he said that Corona wasn't going to stop him from partying. If I get it, I get it. Okay. When you see people say they're not going to give up their partying because someone else who is vulnerable can be safe, that is the spirit of selfishness and privilege. And it says, I am more important. I am more important because I am stronger. I am more important because I don't see how it's going to impact me and have and create a hardship for me. So despite what it causes someone else or costs someone else, I am going to look at authority and despise my responsibility to others and to protect those who are more vulnerable than I feel I am. Despite all of that, I'm going to do what I want to do, regardless of what it costs you. Now, I have to tell you, there's also a scripture that says, all things lawful are not expedient, which really means just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Now, so this is that. When you look at that, you're looking at the spirit of privilege and selfishness. Now, you have to, when you see this, you have to mark it. Because here's the thing. When this is exposed, this is how people show up at work. This is how people show up in relationships. This is how people show up in jobs. So if you're showing up like this on TV, this is the way you wanted to represent yourself to the world. And it wasn't just this one person. Obviously, he was there with a whole beach full of people who were asked not to congregate, right? That's not going to show up any differently than when you pick this person to be your spouse. If you are not willing to protect those who are more vulnerable just because they're more vulnerable, that's a spirit. That's the way you operate your life. So you want to be aware of that. And when you see that, you mark people like that. That's not the kind of person I would hire. That is not the kind of person I would marry. That's not the kind of man I would want my daughter to marry. Who you are is going to show up across the board. And if that depth of selfishness shows up there, it'll show up other places. Lord have mercy. All right, the next one. You've got to build your momentum. Do not lose your momentum. Like right now, you have the opportunity to take this time and do great things with this time. I mentioned some of them earlier. Educating yourself. Contacting people that you haven't contacted in a long time. You know how somebody's on your mind and you don't contact them and like, oh man. Or you think about them early in the morning. Like I get up, y'all know, most mornings I watch the sun come up. So if I'm thinking about you, it may be 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not necessarily going to call you, although I do have some friends at 5 o'clock in the morning. That's the time we talk. Most people, have normal hours. And I might not call you because guess what? By the time your day gets rolling, my day is halfway through. This is your opportunity to do that. Also, for some of you, you've wanted to reach out to different corporations and different things with different ideas you have. This is your opportunity. The world is wide open and looking for solutions. And trust me, if you have a solution, there is someone who is praying about the problem it's attached to. So your solutions become the answers to other people's prayers, right? So when God answers prayers or when a solution is put in place, he never operates outside of people. It's an illegal authority. That's a whole other video too. So when somebody is praying for a solution, you're the answer to that. So if you have solutions, do not withhold them now. Now is the time to release those solutions. Now be wise. Make sure they're copyrighted. Make sure that you cover it and monetize it. This is your opportunity. Don't be ashamed. Oh, I just want to be a blessing. You can be a better blessing when you make some money. Now, that does not have to do with things like food and clothes and things that you can give and things like that. I'm talking about it is time to go ahead and monetize certain things that you've had, those ideas that were waiting in the wings. One of the things I've always taught my girls that I was mentoring, as well as my clients, is that you can create a brain book. Create a brain book where you just jot down the ideas. You know how you get an idea and you're like, wow, that is a really good idea. And you may not have the ability to execute it now. It may not be for now. It may need further development, but get the idea on paper because you will forget it, right? I am now operating some things and doing some things that I had in my brain book from 5, 6, 7 years ago. And that's the truth. So go back and pull some of that stuff out. Pray that you would remember some of the things that were in your mind or you know, that you didn't think about then that might be beneficial now. Begin to bring those things back. All right, so here's another one. Those who can shift quickly will experience a reset. You will experience a reset. So my daughter was talking to me about how, and I don't watch the news. We do not need 24-hour round-the-clock coverage. So that wasn't in my notes, but you really don't. Stop, because you're going to drive yourself crazy. And I felt myself being drawn into the crazy. So I was like, no, not doing this. You need to get the facts from those people who speak the truth. Stop believing everything you see on the internet. You want to make sure that you are discerning which resources are wise and which are not. Don't take counsel from everybody. You know, so that's one thing. So that's one of the reasons why I put down the news. You don't need to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over again in your hearing, because that's where panic and fear set in, and you cannot create if you're also in panic and fear. They operate from different spaces and places, and they cannot exist together with faith. So faith and fear don't exist in the same place. Neither does panic and creativity. So you got to pick one. You got to pick one, and that's your choice. Pick one. So there's a distillery now, I think there's two, at least two. I think there's one in Connecticut and one in New Jersey that has stopped making alcohol and have started to make sanitizer. They started to make sanitizer. So they've made a shift. So not only are they creating what the world really needs right now, they're going to be seen as heroes because they responded to a call. So this goes back to my earlier point about your call right now, your solution right now is actually an answer to someone else's prayers. So that said, what can you shift into quickly that will help you to experience a reset? You want this, there are things that are going to come out of here. I have so many more points. I'm going to have to do a different video. I'm going to have to do a second video to this. Come back tomorrow because, first of all, I think my iPad is going to go in a moment. And second of all, I just realized I'm only halfway through. So I want to be sure, come back tomorrow because there's going to be, I have a lot more, and I'm going to talk about how to make money and how to shift into different things. Right now, some of you may have seen my video on priority protocols and how when you go through a major life change, then you also have to make sure that you're shifting with the change. And a lot of us don't shift our priorities even though our whole world has shifted. The entire world, the entire known world has shifted. And if you don't re-examine your priorities, you are going to find your place, you're going to find yourself in despair, right? So you want to be sure that you are now leaning into the shift. I'm going to put up, let me put up right now, I'm going to put up the link to that video. And also, it's a coaching exercise I do with my clients. I'm going to put that up for you right now in the comments. Okay. All right, I just put that in the comments, right? So that you can take a look at the priority protocols. that you can begin to re-examine what's important to you in this season and for this moment, because what's important to you now, I guarantee, is different than what it was last month this time, and definitely from last year. And moving forward, that is going to look totally different from anything we've experienced prior to now, because this is unprecedented in our lifetime. As I said, I have a lot more that I want to share, that I want to give, and I want to work with you. I really think that we have to give whatever we have to give. And I have some business ideas and support. I have some support around relationships that I want to do. That's the work I do, even in my quote unquote day job and with my business. So I want to be here to support you. Inbox me, comment here, ask questions. I'll be back. We want to make sure that you're able to get the information that you need, and anything I can share on, any questions you have, please feel free to ask. I have a YouTube channel that I'm going to be posting on. Let me just post the link to that. And what I will do is I see a lot of friends, and old and new, who are popping on, and I want to be able to ask and answer questions. But it's easier for me if you ask your questions at the end of the video. That way I can read them, because I won't be able to track during the live. So if you have questions, feel free. You can now just get them into the chat now, or you can inbox me or comment under the video. I will also be back tomorrow to finish this list, because as I said, I was only halfway through, and I have some other resources I will be posting on my page as well. I am saying to you, please stay safe. Take into account those who may be more vulnerable than you. What may be a blip on your radar and a sore throat can be detrimental to someone in a vulnerable population. So one of the best things you can do to show love and honor and respect, and to show the love of God, is to be responsible to your friends, to your neighbors, to your family, to your country, to your county. That is one of the best things you can do right now. So I am wishing you all and praying for you all God's peace, his love and his joy, the peace that passes all understanding, to guard your hearts and minds in Christ. And I'm praying that you have a wonderfully blessed day. I will be back tomorrow to share some more of these insights, and I hope they were beneficial. Again, check out YouTube channel. I'll be posting some things there. Check out my Facebook page. Stay tuned. Be sure to share the video. Send questions. Post your questions below, or you can inbox me. And I'm here to serve you. So if there's something that I can help you with, please let me know, right? This is my opportunity to sow and to give. Wishing you all God's peace. Have a great day.